Welcome back to another episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, and we here. This is the People's Show. All right, so we're gonna bring y'all on, but before we bring y'all on and y'all get all y'all thoughts out there, we're gonna talk about a few things. Dominique Puni, is he gearing up to start at right guard for the 49ers? Renardo Green, is he being used right? Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowling, are they holding up the Brandon Aiyuk trade? And of course, we're going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk as well. Welcome back. Oh, it feels good. It feels good. I didn't want to be, and again, I love all the content creators out there, and everybody's a little different. For me, I like talking pure football. I don't really like doing a whole lot of the uh, I don't like to do too much like speculation, and I really don't like having to create a bunch of different storylines, right? Like I don't like the whole off-season talk. So a lot of times we take a break during that time, but I end up having to do it anyways on Locked On 49ers. So of course, if you're not already, make sure you guys listen to Locked On 49ers to come at you 5 days a week. It's myself, it's my co-host Brian Peacock. It's the number one 49ers audio version of a podcast that's out there. We usually battle with 49ers Talk with Matt Mayoko. So, we're all up there. It's all in the same family, all in the same family. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be back. There's been a lot of different changes. I wonder, nope, I've been living in California, got a new house. I think last time we talked, I was still in the townhome that we first moved into when we came back from Arkansas. Not the most ideal situation for me, but yeah, I got my own office back, so I'm still gearing things up, getting things situated and everything like that. But we live, baby. We live. Shout out to everybody in the chat. You know what to do, man. Make sure you guys put those flames in there. Let me know how you feeling. All right. We got Manly Shavers in here. He says, happy Monday, Crocker and Niners faithful. We got the 5 flames. Anything less than 5 flames, we need to talk about it. Y'all going through anything, make sure y'all tap in and have somebody to talk to, aka Big Cat. Got 5 flames in the chat, so Big Cat's feeling good. Brian J feeling good. Brian J says back like we never left. That's right. And technically, I never left because we did do Locked On 49ers, but back on this show, baby. We back, baby. Come on, man. Stop playing. Stop playing. Shout out to my brother Abel in the chat. My brother Abel, what up, baby? Mr. Blue Magic in the chat. And we got Jedi says, you in Cali now? I've been in Cali for really like almost 1 year now. So I'm approaching my 1 year anniversary. All right, I'm approaching my 1 year anniversary. So I've been back in Cali for a little minute now. All right, we got the flames coming in. Everybody's feeling good. All right. So let's get into some of this talk. I want to start with Dominique Puni because I have and listen, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name. I keep saying Puny, but I don't know if it's Puny or Puni or Pune. See, I'm starting to twist in all kind of different ways. I don't know exactly how to say the 49ers right guard. They drafted him in the 3rd round, traded up to actually get the guard. And I got to figure out exactly how to say his name. All right. But I have a couple takes on him. And I want to start with the 49ers draft approach to drafting Dominique Puni. And this is a guy who, or at least a guy that's coming into a situation where a lot of 49er fans wanted the 49ers to go offensive line. Now, the big topic was offensive tackle. Do you roll out with McKivitz again, or do you go a different direction, right? Do you potentially go guard? Do you go center, right? Jackson Powers Johnson, I think there were a lot of people that wanted him. He's more of a center, maybe an interior offensive lineman, but there were a lot of people that wanted to go O-line for sure. Like, you got to go O-line with the first pick. You got to go O-line with the second pick, third pick, fourth pick. I'm like, look, guys, you got to go O-line if it's the right guy. You don't want to force it. You don't want to force it. So I actually love the 49ers approach. They didn't go O-line with the first pick when maybe people thought they should. They didn't go second pick, which I think I still would have gotten Sua Mataia. And he's been doing pretty damn good for Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's going to start at left tackle. But you end up going guard third in the 3rd round. And I like that approach. Find the right guy, not just a guy. And for any like mock draft that I put out there was a lot of that conversation as well. If you didn't have an offensive lineman being taken in the first round in your mock draft, people butchered it. You didn't have an offensive lineman going to say, you didn't draft an old lineman to the fourth round. Well, the 49ers got one a little bit before the fourth round, right? Third round. And Dominique Puni, I think he's doing an amazing job of taking care of an opportunity. All right, now, what do we mean by that? What do we mean that he's taking advantage of this opportunity that he has right now? He needed guys to get hurt for him to slide into this spot. Now, don't get that confused with the 49ers wanting him to start. I can guarantee you, any other draft picks, listen, any time in 49ers or any team for that matter, draft a guy, like they want him to start. And there might be guys that they feel like are more, developmental guys, maybe guys that it may take a while for this guy to really come into his own in the sense of what they're looking for. But ultimately, like they want that guy to start. No matter who it is, right? So you draft a guy in the first round, you want him to start. Second round, you want him to start. Third round, you want them to start. Realistically, you know that there's probably going to be it's going to take some time. All right. It's going to take some time for these guys to come in and start, right? Or that's typically not going to be something that happens right away. More times than not, what's going to happen is it's going to be a guy that takes time. He's got to develop. Man, he's got to catch on to the offense, right? But when guys start going down, you have an opportunity. Sometimes I go back to my playing days, and when I was with the New York Jets, it was tough, right? You're talking about an undrafted guy coming from the Arena League. All right, I'm starting out at the very bottom of the depth chart of all the cornerbacks. And when I say very bottom, there were some other guys that you guys would maybe assume are at the bottom, and I was like below them. All right, what do I mean by that? Royce Adams, right? He was a guy that was probably undrafted. And shout out to my guy Royce. Had some fun with him. Took me to the strip club. Had a good time. All right, but Royce was coming off of a torn ACL. Most people haven't heard of Royce, right? This was a guy kind of in my position, but torn ACL. But he had been there the year before, so by default, he's kind of ahead of me. There were some other guys. Mike Edwards. Shout out to Mike Edwards. He was coming. I think he was a transfer from Tennessee to Hawaii, but Rex Ryan knew him through somebody, and they brought him on, another undrafted guy, a little ahead of me. Now, that's not to say that if I didn't just show up and show out and ball out, that I wouldn't have more opportunities or end up being ahead of them. But it was an uphill climb. And there were also some free agents. There was Darren Walls. Shout out to Darren Walls. He was a baller. There was Aaron Berry there, right? And there was gosh, why am I butchering? Why am I forgetting Ellis Langster? Shout out to Ellis Langster. There was Trufant. There were a lot of defensive backs that I got to learn and be cool with. But everybody was coming in with these different situations that maybe made the team potentially prioritize them or whatever. But you have opportunities. And guys like Darren Walls took advantage of his opportunity. And when things started going sour with D. Milliner, guess what? My guy, Darren Walls, he was the first guy in, right, to play. I didn't quite take advantage of my opportunity the way that I would have liked. I did decent, but there were certain areas where I need to improve at, and I didn't make that jump. I say all that to say Dominique Puni, a guy who is coming here, he's pegged as like a backup office guard. He's going to have to beat out some guys. You know that there's potentially an opportunity for it, but is he going to do it? Well, once some guys go down, John Feliciano, he missed a couple practices. Spencer Burford, he's out kind of banged up here and there. Well, now all of a sudden, Dominique Puni has to play. And I went to a few 49ers practices in training camp. And I got to watch one Dominique Puni. And it's crazy because there was a lot of other stuff going on and people were asking me these questions. And I'm like, look, I can't even answer that question because all I did was focus on Dominique Puni. I just watched him. Like I didn't watch anything else. Now, obviously, I'd see the result of a play, but initially, I'm seeing how's he getting off the ball. How is he when he has to reach block? How's his athleticism in space? Is he reaching the next level? How is he getting to Fred Warner? Right, this is a guy that had to play with the first group. And when you're playing with the first group offense, you're playing against the first group defense, right? So this was something that I wanted to see, like how he did, and I was like, this is the first day that I've gone here. I can't speak as to how he's been throughout all of training camp. It's hard because I don't have much to go off of in the sense of what Aaron Banks at the time looked like and Spencer Burford, like other guys that are potentially starters, or even John Feliciano. But this rookie looked damn good. Right? And I, I'm wondering, am I tripping? So I went to another practice. It was the same. The rookie looked damn good. And then he goes into a preseason game. And of course, eyes are going to be on Dominique Puni and what this looks like. And I'm watching him and I'm watching him. And I'm like, obviously there's some things he can clean up. There was like a couple run fits and whatnot. But ultimately, as you know, a pass protector, as someone that's taking on stunts, and even showing his athleticism in space, I have a hard time thinking that there's going to be an offensive lineman that removes Dominique Puni from the starting right guard spot. So when we talk about being drafted where you are, right, third round, you know the team that they like you. You're going from left tackle to right guard. What is that going to look like? I think Dominique Puni has done an amazing job of taking advantage of that. He started opposite. On the opposite side, you had Aaron Banks, but I don't think Dominique Puni is giving up his job. I don't think he's giving up his job. So we watched him start a handful of practices during training camp. We've watched him in the first preseason game. I'm not sitting in meetings with coaches, so it's hard to know exactly how they feel about his performance. But watching it live, it felt like I think the 49ers might have something here. I think the 49ers might have something here. So fun watching him. I'm continuing to we're gonna all continue to watch and take note at what exactly it continues to look like for Dominique Puni. And is this the guy that's gonna hold down the right guard spot for the 49ers for the next 4 years or maybe even more? Mr. Blue Magic is in the chat. Everybody's in the chat. Of course, we're gonna get to the chat. Here we go. They should have went left tackle in first, especially when our guy is made of glass right now. So our left tackle, the guy made of glass. Are you talking about Trent Williams? Trent Williams holding out right now. I'm pretty sure you guys are all aware of that. We got Mr. Blue Magic says Kyle wants O lineman that fit his scheme, and that's the biggest thing, right? It's like a chick, right? It's like a female. I think we all have like, you may have like preferences, but the more preferences you have on what you're looking for in a significant other, the more that pool kind of shrinks a little bit, right? Like to find someone that's exactly everything that you're looking for, there might be 5 of those in your town, and maybe 4 of them already have significant others or whatever the case is. So it's like, can you find that one and then not mess it up with that one? All right. So, but that's yeah, having a type, the 49ers definitely have a very, very, very specific type of offensive lineman, and they'll swing on those guys, but it seems like high. Like if you want that guy high, you're gonna have to draft him really high, as opposed to being able to get him at the end of the first round when maybe the guys that you do like are already gone. Are already gone. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Of course, this show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You see they got the little light thing for me. I need to put that up, prop it up on the wall. I ain't done with everything yet in this office. But Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Crocky, and they'll double your deposit up to $100, or you can get like a bonus of up to $250 at checkout. Make sure you guys use promo code Crocky at Underdog Fantasy or UnderdogFantasy.com. All right, let's go to the next topic, y'all. Man, we got another guy that I'm curious to see exactly what he does and how he takes advantage of this opportunity. And it is rookie Renardo Green. All right, Renardo Green, rookie cornerback drafted in the second round out of Florida State. What has he looked like? All right, now again, I didn't go to a ton of practices, but I went to a few. And I wanted to see, like, okay, Renardo Green. I'm excited to see what does it look like with him. How good is he? Damn, he's not practicing today. Okay, I missed him this time. So then I go to another practice, and I get to watch Renardo Green. And the first thing I notice is, hey, Renardo Green is he's in the first group defense. You have Travarius Ward, you have Diamond Lenore. No surprises there. All right. Now, when they went to nickel, Diamond Lenore slid down to the inside. And on the outside, it was Renardo Green. So he's playing outside cornerback in nickel situations. Now, why was he with the first group defense in nickel situations? There was a guy that wasn't there at practice, and they have a couple of veterans right now. You have Rocky Sin. He's kind of like one of the first group, second string cornerbacks right now, and he's kind of holding down that spot. We'll see if he continues to take advantage of that, especially with the news that Ambry Thomas went down with an injury. So I'd assume that Rocky Sin is like really good and makes it there. All right. But aside from that, you have the kid out of Boston College, was drafted by the Denver Broncos. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Isaac Edom. There we go. Isaac Edom. All right. I know all his everything, and like, well, I can't remember his name, but Isaac Edom. So Edom was out that day. So since he was out, Renardo Green stepped up. He's the outside guy. Diamond Lenore playing in the nickel. Chevarius Ward outside. And okay, that's cool. So he's going to be an outside corner. Well, that's where he should be. Man, I heard Sorensen talking about working him in the nickel, and that's where they were going to start him off at. Man, I'm glad that they put him outside. And then the preseason game happens. And come preseason, he was no longer on the outside. Matter of fact, I have to go back and watch and pay attention because, at some point in the preseason game, you kind of just start to kind of watch and see what things stand out and what you notice. But he's played the nickel. And I felt like in base situations, it was Ambry Thomas and Rocket Sin. And then in nickel, it was Renardo Green. And I was very confused by that. And I titled this segment right here, Is Ricky Renardo Green being used wrong? This is a guy that was a press man corner at Florida State. He didn't play off. So I'm wondering, are they just trying to get him used to playing in just a completely different spot? Seeing if they could cross-train him. Is this something that's going to work? I watched him in the nickel spot. It wasn't even like, okay, I'm in the nickel, but I'm still going to do a lot of press man type stuff. Man, he was off coverage, zone dropping. I'm not a big fan of zone dropping, but he's off coverage, zone dropping. And I'm like, man, they did this with Ambry Thomas. 49ers drafted Ambry Thomas out of Michigan. This is a guy that was a press man corner on the outside. I don't think he moved as well as Renardo Green in the sense of just kind of fluidity, hips, feet. But I didn't think he moved as well. But it was like Ambry Thomas, he's a press man guy. Even when he's playing zone, he likes to play for more press alignment and read the route concepts from there. So I'm assuming, like, okay, maybe they learn from that. And when they get Renardo Green, they're going to use him for what he's done well. Well, they're like, I think we really want to play him in the nickel. I'm like, you drafted this guy second round to do something and be something. And you're like, no, we drafted him because we want to play him in the nickel. And I'm like, man, when we watched the LSU film, and he's doing a great job against Malik Neighbors, who's going crazy in training camp right now, right? But you watch him against Malik Neighbors, and you're like, you watch him play press against those guys, Ricky Pearsall. You watch how much he challenged all these receivers, and the first thing you say is, oh, I love how he's challenging these guys. Let's put him in off coverage in the nickel spot, right? What? So I am curious to see exactly how that works out. And maybe they're just cross-training him to where he has that type of flexibility. But for me, this is a guy that I would like to just, play outside. And if you look at the outside spot, maybe they just like Isaac Edom that much and they want him on the field. But they don't have a long-term solution there, especially after this year, Chevarius Ward ends up leaving, or, Diamond Lenore, maybe he's going to want too much money. You're going to need Green to play on the outside. And the fact that they're coming in and they're playing him in the nickel, as opposed to saying, all right, in base situations, we have Diamond Lenore. We're going to slide him inside the nickel. Then on outside is going to be 100% Renardo Green, the rookie that we drafted in the second round. Nah, we ain't going that way. We're going to go a whole different route. I am a little confused by it, but again, hey, these are the professionals. They get paid to make these decisions. We'll see how it works out. But if it were me, he'd be an outside guy. And if you guys notice, right, like nickels, go around the NFL and look at who some of the best nickels are. Most of them, we'll see if they started as rookies, but a lot of times they grow into that role. So I'm curious to see how that whole thing works out with Renardo Green. Is he being used wrong? I probably shouldn't phrase it that way. Is it an experiment? Or is this like, this is what we really feel like. This is what we feel like you should be doing. You should be playing in the nickel as opposed to outside. Maybe because he has a slight frame. Did he have the longest arms? I don't know. I'd have to look at those measurements again. But he always came off to me as a terrific outside cornerback, and they've done something completely different with him. Mr. Blue Magic in the chat says, Ambry Thomas needs to get cut. I'm sorry. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to cut Ambry Thomas because he got hurt. Broke his arm. He's out indefinitely. That might have saved him, though, because in your contracts, and do I still have my contract in my – let's see if I have my Jets contract in here. And maybe I could bring it up for y'all. Let's see. Jets contract. Let's see. Attachment. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have to find my Jets contract. All right. But in my contract, it had a split. I was gonna bring it up on the screen for y'all. There was an injury split in it. So like let's say in training camp, if I quote unquote, tore my ACL or something, or did something where I'd be hurt, there's like a guaranteed money that I was gonna get. So sometimes you see guys get released with an injury designation or whatever, and like they end up getting paid for that. All right. Now it's not your like whole contract, but you do get paid. So we'll see what happens with Ambry Thomas. Do they release him with an injury designation? Then he comes back on IR. That's something we've seen. We've seen some teams take guys because of that. I think back to DJ Reed, right? DJ Reed, guy that played a lot nickel for the 49ers. Turns out he's a terrific outside cornerback. A guy that they drafted, made him play some safety, made him play some nickel. A smaller guy was an outside cornerback the whole time at Kansas. And they said, we're going to draft you. You're going to play in the nickel or safety. Then they let him go. He goes to Seattle, plays very well with Seattle at outside cornerback, even picks off the 49ers. Then goes, signs a big contract with the New York Jets to play outside cornerback, opposite side of Sauce Gardner. Interesting. But yeah, Ambry Thomas, he's hurt. He's hurt. So we'll see what happens with him. We'll see what happens with him. All right, let's get to the next topic, and we're kind of firing through these things because I want to make sure that I get you guys on here and give you guys the time because I have a hard out at 9 a.m. Ricky Pearsall effect between him, Jacob Cowan, and are they holding up the Brandon Aiyuk trade stuff? All right, so the 49ers right now, right, we're talking about the effects of these guys. There are trades out there that they like. We've heard that they've agreed to terms of certain trades with certain teams, but it's like, you know what? We need to find a receiver that works for us that we're able to get in return. Now, they want to kind of do a basketball trade style type thing, 3-team trade, go and get a guy like, I don't know, let's just say Robert Woods or something, right? I'm just throwing a name out there, but we want Robert Woods. Well, we can't trade Brandon Aiyuk until we are able to get a receiver in return. And my thing is, why do 49ers need a receiver in return? Now, I get it. In the sense, in the grand scheme of things, we're thinking 49ers, they have, Brandon Aiyuk. If you trade him away, man, that's a huge hole. And I'm like, is it a huge hole? And I'm going off of just depth chart, right? Like the 49ers depth chart, the 49ers roster. When you just think of the roster on a normal team, or if you're just building a roster, all right, let's say that Brandon Aiyuk never existed. And obviously, this is an exercise because in real life you can't do this, but Brandon Aiyuk never existed for the 49ers. Should you be good going into the season, knowing that I have Christian McCaffrey, I have George Kittle, who had more receiving yards than any other tight end last year, had over 1,000 yards. The only tight end with over 1,000 yards last season. All right. I have Deebo Samuel. This is a guy that has been an all-pro. You'd like to see him return back to that form. If he doesn't miss games last year, maybe he gets over 1,000 yards again, but you got Deebo Samuel. You got Juwan Jennings, a guy who hasn't put up big numbers. Not a lot of balls to go around to everybody, but you like him. You drafted a rookie receiver in the first round, Ricky Pearsall. You drafted another one in the fourth round, Jacob Cowan. There were some other guys that contributed for you, here and there. You like to see what you have with maybe Danny Gray. But heading into the season, you got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, rookie first round pick, Ricky Pearsall. I would assume that would be enough to be like, man, we got a good offense. I'm excited about this offense and what they can do. But the 49ers are like, no, that ain't it. And guys ain't ready. And I think that's because, and here we go. Mr. Blue Magic says, we passed what after we killed it with the run, play action. And that's another part, right? Like the offense, it's not even like the 49ers are this spread. We're going to just throw the ball all around 40 times a game type team, like maybe the Chargers have been in the past. They won't be this year, but with the hiring of Jim Harbaugh. But it's not even like 49ers are throwing the ball all over the field like that. So not saying that there's not a need for Brandon Aiyuk, but could you potentially get by without having him? If he never existed and you didn't know that he was even an option, but you have Debo, CMC, George Kittle, Jawan Jennings, first round pick Ricky Pearsall, another receiver in the fourth round that you drafted. You think like, hey, this is pretty solid, right? And at the very least, you go into the season saying, you know what, this is solid. We like this group. We like what we have here. Let's see what it looks like. And if it turns out to be like 2019, where you started the season very well, I think by the time of this trade, you were like 7-0, but it was clear you got Marquise Goodwin, you got rookie Debo Samuel, you got Kendrick Bourne. It's like, I like these guys, but it's just not quite enough. Like we're missing that one thing. Let's trade middle of the year for a guy that maybe puts us over the top. And they went and they got Emmanuel Sanders. And when they traded for Emmanuel Sanders, it was like the missing piece. But like, make that trade when one, you're able to get a guy for probably a lot cheaper than you would prior to a season. By that time, around the trade deadline, there are going to be a lot of teams that potentially are out of the mix, right? Like just teams that like, we like this guy before because he's going to help us win, but right now we're not winning. Let's see if we can get some capital for him because we won't have him next year. Like, go get that guy middle of the year. Do you have to do it right now? But even then, the 49ers, they have like this uneasy feeling because they aren't going into the season just knowing that 100% Ricky Pearsall, he's ready to go. They're not going to it like thinking like Jacob Cowan, he's ready to go because these guys are hurt. So I think that Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowan, guys that have been kind of banged up, wearing the blue jersey at different times, they are holding up the progress of this trade. And I think if they had been out there and just been normal, right? Like Juwan Jennings, Debo Samuel, those guys have just been at every practice. If Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowan just been at every practice and been on the field, would the 49ers still be reluctant to trade away Brandon Aiyuk because they need a receiver in return? I would say no. I would say no. And I didn't even mention guys like Conley. I didn't mention Martin, which Martin, I have a bone to pick with Martin a little bit. I pay a lot of attention to Martin because my bro Donald is kind of cool with him a little bit, like whether it's on social media or in person, I don't know, but he's cool with Tay Martin. And Martin isn't making the plays that I think he needs to make to separate himself, right? We talked about earlier, taking advantage of opportunities. He's had some opportunities and he's not making those plays. That's not to say like last game, he maybe ended up with 5 catches. But that deep ball down the field, he had an opportunity to make a difficult catch, but make that catch, right? That's going to separate you from other guys. He had an opportunity in practice a couple times, like same thing. Make that play. That's going to separate you. And he didn't quite make it. So we'll see what happens with Tay Martin. But Conley definitely is a guy who you go into the season, you feel like you know what you're getting from him, and he's done well. And I haven't even mentioned Bell. All right. I haven't even mentioned Bell. But Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowan, I solely believe that these guys are holding up the Brandon Aiyuk trade single-handedly. It's on them. It's on them. All right, appreciate everybody's in the chat right now. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're about to go live. Matter of fact, I'll put the invite link in the chat right now so you guys can start tuning in and coming on before we get into this last topic. So go ahead, click that link right there if you want to come on, speak your piece on what's going on with the 49ers. All right. But last but not least, last topic, we got Brandon Aiyuk. All right. And I want to talk about how we got here. I'm definitely on social media. Right there it says at Eric_Crocker, but it's Crocky209 for those of you who update. I need to update this whole thing. All right. But I'm on Twitter and all day, all I see is people ripping Brandon Aiyuk. Oh, Brandon Aiyuk is he's a diva. Brandon Aiyuk, he's this, he's that. Oh, just trade him away already. And I do think that I tend to lean a little bit more towards the players. Clearly, right? Like I try to bring that perspective for the most part. All right, the perspective of the players. And like here, Demarcus Dixon in the chat says, Kruger says BA is acting like a baby. Right? And shout out to my guy Larry Kruger. I'll say this. Is he acting like you ideally want him to act? Maybe not, but it's hard because I'm not in his position. We're not in his shoes. I think for most people, especially when things get a little personal or you feel like you're out of control in something. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like, man, I feel trapped, right? I feel trapped. And I got Matt right here. He says, "What happened in Arkansas?" See, I started this because I'm gonna come back to this. But ultimately in Arkansas, I got to a point with certain things I was doing where I felt trapped. And when you feel trapped, you kind of have this helpless feeling. And I think Brandon Aiyuk feels trapped and has this helpless feeling. Why does Brandon Aiyuk feel trapped? Brandon Aiyuk feels trapped because the San Francisco 49ers is a team that he wants to play for. But Brandon Aiyuk also feels like I don't even want to say is owed a certain amount of money, but Brandon Aiyuk feels like, hey man, like with what I'm able to do with where my value is, I'm slotted at a certain spot. And, how do I know that? Well, he told us on the Pivot podcast. All right. But he feels like I'm slotted here. And I talked about how we get here, right? How did we get here? The 49ers had an opportunity to lock him up for a much lower price. Man, and it was so close to where Brandon Aiyuk was like, okay, I need to go pick out my outfit that I'm gonna wear to go sign. Like he thought it was really close. And for whatever reason, things shifted. Also, a lot of guys have been signed since then. I remember thinking that CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, even maybe T. Higgins, right? Like guys are gonna get new contracts, and a lot of it won't like big time affect Brandon Aiyuk, but it kind of can change exactly how much money he's making. I was not expecting guys like uh, Devontae Smith to get signed, Jalen Waddle. Like, I don't know why those names weren't crossing my mind, but Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Nico Collins, um, uh, DJ Moore, right? Like, all these guys started getting signed, and I'm like, this is going to change how much he makes. So the 49ers, if you had any thoughts of there's potentially guys that will get signed that would change the market of Brandon Aiyuk, you got to get out ahead of it. I bet if they would have just went boom, and I'm not saying agree to his term, but maybe were a little bit more open to negotiating, they probably could have got him at $26 million a year. And they probably came in much lower than that. And they're like, oh, we're far apart. And then to completely shut off negotiations in May, we want to talk about him being the baby. Like, to me, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. We got a comment right here in the chat. He says, I turned on BA when he said on the Pivot podcast, he took a back seat to those guys. Now, when you say take a back seat, are you talking about the guys on the 49ers? Because he has. Listen, Brandon Aiyuk, and this is for the diva. Oh, he's a diva. Brandon Aiyuk has not complained until after the Super Bowl when he's like, I should have had more targets. And I look at that different too. You look at Terrell Owens, you look at Dez Bryant, Odell Beckham. At times, they put the cameras on them and they hear these guys kind of lash out or whatever. And a lot of times these guys lash out is because of they felt like in that moment they could have helped their team. Right? Like, it's like, man, you throw me the ball and I'm going to help this team. Like, you throw me the ball, I'm going to help us win. You're not throwing me the ball, or, and they get frustrated. Brandon Aiyuk didn't get the same type of targets as other guys. And I think we felt or seen his frustration when he posted his jerseys, talking about one jersey clean, one jersey dirty or whatever, and his lack of targets and whatnot, right? But ultimately, he just wants to help a team. We never hear him complain. Whether Brandon Aiyuk was targeted 4 times in the game or 9 times in the game, he never complained. All he did was go and do his work at a high level, right? If you're into analytics, he's like top of the league. I say top, we'll say top 5. A lot of them shoot number 1. All right, but in a lot of categories, beat man coverage, beating zone coverage, separation, yards per reception. Gosh, what else? I mean, there's so many stats where it shows like, man, he's doing things at a high level, but the 49ers don't do anything to feature him, right? So what do I mean by that? He's not a guy that they use like the other guys are being used, which is the reason why I believe the 49ers don't want to pay him a ton of money. And I get that. I understand that. But if you understand, right now, this is the part where I'm putting it on the 49ers. I'm putting this on the 49ers. If you understand you have this terrific receiver, he does everything you want. He blocks his ass off, right? Number 1 blocking receiver in the NFL. He's catching passes. He's getting open. He's doing separation. He's doing all these things, right? He does all these things well to where now his status as a receiver is at a certain level. He's not asking for CeeDee Lamb money. He's not asking for Justin Jefferson money. Those guys want $34, $35 million per year. He's not asking for that. He's just asking to get where he slide at, more like Jalen Waddle and these guys in that range. Can I get 28 million? Can I get 29 million? Can I get 30 million maybe, right? Like in that range. Give me the range of those guys. Well, we can't give you that money because we don't use you that way. So I understand that. I understand why the 49ers did not want to pay him that kind of money. But if you feel like we're not going to pay you that money, that the other guys with your kind of ability, like the tier receiver you're in, not that top tier, but that kind of, you're in that next two or maybe third tier. Those guys are getting paid $28, $29 million a year. If we feel like we're not going to pay you that money because we never intend to utilize you that way, we're not prioritizing you in the offense, even though you end up with the most targets by default, we don't feature you the same way. Whether we throw you the ball 9 times in the game or 3 times in the game, we do not care, right? So if that is the case, then trade them. Oh, well, we want to trade them, but we're not going to get back as much as we want, or whatever case. Well, I remember hearing the 49ers and people saying, well, the teams were calling about Brandon Aiyuk, and the 49ers said he's not available. So you're telling me he's not available for trade, all right, when teams were calling. You cut off communication with him, so you're not even negotiating at all since May. You allow him to come in and hold out, right, or hold in. And then now you open up things, but now it's a weird spot because only so many teams at this moment are going to be able to meet the demands of the 49ers. Right? You got to be able to pay a guy when some of your money is tied up, right? So you got to be able to pay Brandon Aiyuk. That's a tough spot for them to be in. You got to be able to trade the capital that the 49ers want for him. All right. That's going to be tough, right? Because of where you're at and where you're at. And you've already, it's kind of gotten a receiving group going into the year that you maybe like, but okay, how does he fit into this? You've kind of really limited your options. So nowhere now, there might be 2-3 teams that we've been hearing a lot about that have the opportunity to go and get a Brandon Aiyuk right now. When do guys typically get traded? Not in August and September. There's 2 times you get traded. Around the time seasons, the new season, the new year starts in March, or you get traded when during the middle of the year, right before the trade deadline. But a lot of times it doesn't happen right now. So if you're thinking about like who are potential suitors, what they're potentially willing to give up, why it might not be ideally what you like, is because of how the 49ers played their cards, which I think they did it all wrong. I think he did it all wrong. Now, do the 49ers 100% have to trade Brandon Aiyuk? No, they do not. No, they do not. They can hold him for his 5th-year option. But clearly he wants a new contract. And he's not the only one. CeeDee Lamb is not at Dallas Cowboys camp right now. He wants a new contract. Ja'Marr Chase, has he shown up yet? Because he wants a new contract. And he isn't even to the 5th-year option like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Aiyuk. So I'm not here to say that Brandon Aiyuk is just, oh man, he's been such a great guy throughout this offseason. Has it been challenging for the 49ers? I'm sure. But I think the 49ers have a bigger hand in this because they could handle this however they want. And they've chosen to take this path. And now it's much more difficult and it's gotten ugly. Appreciate everybody in the chat right now. About to bring you guys on live. We got 2 people waiting in the room right now. Again, if you want to come on live, here is the link right here. Real quick, I did have somebody say that he asked a question right now. I was like, okay, I'll address it. What happened in Arkansas? So if those of you who know, my wife and I, we moved to Arkansas. I went to finish getting my degree at the university that I went to. College in California, they're trying to make me start over as a junior college transfer. Did not want to do that. All right, my wife, it was easier for her to get into the LVN to RN program out there. It's a 1-year program at the university. They're one of the best in that entire region, which she graduated from. Did an amazing job. My wife is now an RN. She's actually a hospice nurse here in California. Loves her job. She's a pediatric nurse. She does deal with peds and everything as well. All right, now, what I wasn't expecting was to build a gym, which I did build a gym. Now, the other thing I wasn't expecting was for my streaming to take off. So when we were in the process of building the gym, I thought, Okay, this is how I'm going to feed my family through this gym and all that, right? Like, okay, do something I love doing, I'm passionate about, training athletes, coaching kids, all that great stuff. Cool. Well, in the process of it building, me, I signed the papers. It's a lot of money. We're building it up. In the process of that, the podcast stuff blew up. I was not expecting that. Full transparency, I'm somebody who was making, I don't know, before Locked On, because again, this is prior to Locked On, 600 a month off of streaming, right? Like, it wasn't like a whole bunch of money. And then next thing you know, in the process of the gym being built, that money started going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And I started making so much money that, let's say, hypothetically speaking, or not hypothetically speaking, but let's say I'm making, $17,000, $18,000 a month, right? Like, I started making a lot of money. And now this gym is built and I have to tend to the gym. Well, it was hard for me to have enough time to do all my streaming stuff, do all the things I needed to do, right? But also build a gym from the ground up. You got to be there. You got to be present. You got to be out there. You got to market. You got to do all that stuff. I'm flying back and forth to California because, I had 2 kids out here, and it was just extremely difficult. So I wasn't able to give the gym the attention that it needed for to grow the way that it needed to. And I started cutting back on some of the streaming stuff I was doing. So now I'm cutting back. I have a large overhead with the gym, but now I cut my money I'm making from my gym damn near in half. I mean, not from my gym, from my streaming stuff. And now I'm like somebody living paycheck to paycheck, when it's hard to go from, man, I'm balling, I'm making all this money, to like, damn, because I'm trying to keep these doors open, I'm living paycheck to paycheck and barely making ends meet. And like, okay, let's pay this bill and then let's wait. And then at this time, we're going to pay this bill. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. Well, I got to that point. And once I got to that point, I felt trapped. And I'm like, this ain't it. This ain't it. So I figured out a way to where I was able to get out of it. And I no longer have the gym there. I sold the gym, sold the house, and we moved back to California. So like, that was kind of how it happened. That's a fast, just here's kind of how it happened. It goes a little bit deeper than that, but ultimately I kind of had to choose. Do I want to continue to stream, which I love streaming. I can stream from anywhere, anytime. I can be in Atlanta streaming from a hotel. I can be at home streaming from my office. I can do this. I make good money. Shout out to Locked On 49ers. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Those have been big for me, but it got to a point where it didn't quite make sense, and it was extremely difficult. And we had to do what was best. So that was kind of that's the premise of that. All right. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there for anybody that was wondering. All right. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Dan like that. Hey man, we're going to support you wherever you are. Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right. We got the chat going up. I only have about 15 more minutes here before I got to get on Locked On 49ers with my co-host, Brian Peacock. Shout out to JC in the chat. He says many blessings to the family. Let's go. And listen, coming back to California in the position and situation I'm in now is drastically different than the position and situation that I was prior to leaving California. So things are amazing. Amazing place with my wife, amazing place with my kids, amazing place with being able to stream. It's amazing. Like I can't tell you how happy, how blessed, like I just feel like. Sometimes I should be hella happy. People be like, man, what? I was on whose show? I was on Damon Bruce's show, and people were like, man, I need that caffeine. Crocker's on this morning. I'm like, man, it ain't even caffeine. I don't even drink caffeine. I'm just hella happy. Like, I'm just hella happy. But anyways, another person I'm happy to see. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Blue Magic, in the chat. Blue man, what's good, man? Good morning, bro.
Yo, Croc, number one, it feels so good to be back. What's mobbing, Brody? You already know. Brooklyn, we in the building. New York, stand up.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
I've been chilling. I went through a little something, so I had to take a little time off too. Had a couple family things had to go take care of, but it's been good for me to be back too and feel the love and all that.
Oh yeah. So, man, what's your thoughts on where the 49ers are at right now? We talked about a few different topics. We talked about some of the preseason stuff with Dominique Puni. I talked about Renardo Green and kind of where he's at. Ricky Pearsall and Jake McCown. I think they're holding up. IU traded. I think they just been regular, just been healthy, been at practice. Maybe the
Yeah.
49ers would be as reluctant to move off of Brandon Aiyuk. And then obviously you have all the Brandon Aiyuk news with where we're at with him. But what are your thoughts on what's going on with the 49ers are?
So from even last year, when I was coming on, and I told you the amount of depth that we lost. Number one, I said the Hargrave trade. I said that was going to be bad for us. We lost a lot of depth. It affected our run defense, which is still kind of rearing its head, especially with like the injuries to Greenlaw and so forth and so on. So the fact that I sort of got where the organization was coming from. It felt like they was trying to make that final push because they knew we can't keep this roster forever, and this might be our best shot. I just looked at like, and I said the same thing with the Chase Young trade. I said that was a bad trade. If Washington is giving up a player of such, he's so great, you give him up for little to nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's like if Shorty really that bad, why you really just like kicking at the curb? You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was those two signings. I said we're gonna hurt us in the long run. Last year, I seen the BA thing coming. I was all over Twitter, X, however you want to slice it now. But I was so far ahead of this. BA literally said when before the end of the season and even like right after the Super Bowl, we could have got him for 26. We could have got him for 26. And people keep saying, oh, he doesn't want to be here. BA has been on record saying he wants to be a Niner. So for everybody talking about he has an ego, all football players have egos. All of them. We all do. And we keep trying to equate millionaire and billionaire money to our everyday lives when you can't do that. It's easy for us to sit here and not have $1 million and say, oh, well, what's the difference between 1 million and 2 million? You're also not taking into account state tax. So that 30, that 28, that 30, it doesn't equate to that. It equates to less. And BA has, once again, even with the negotiations now, he came on record saying, I'll take less to stay in San Francisco, but you're not going to pay me pennies. And when you look at the impact of him, he said it the year before last in his little cryptic tweet. Run first offense. I'm fourth option. And I'm gaining 1,000 yards. How many fourth option receivers are eclipsing 1,000 yards? Who's our downfield threat? Who's one of the BA and Jawan Jennings are the unsung anchors of the offense. Trent is amazing. We can't do nothing without Trent because the rest of our old line is shaky. It's a decent offensive line. It's not as bad as we believe it is. It's a very decent, a very mid to just above mid, and that's all you were. That's enough to make it to the levels that we reach. But for as great as CMC is, for as dynamic as Devo can be, BA's value, like you said, and I agree with it. Both sides got some, got valid points. And it's the same, but BA, if you really look at it, BA's not in the quote unquote Cabo clique. So he's already on the outskirts. When you look at the contracts and the negotiations, what did everybody say? Oh, give Nick Bosa whatever he wants. Nobody said nothing about Nick Bosa not being in practice. Nick Bosa got a pass for how he played last season. Oh, he missed training camp and and that's hard to do and come back. And when you look at other players around the league that aren't as talented as Nick Bosa, look at Randy Gregory. Randy Gregory had the same amount of sacks as Bosa. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at certain CMC,
Randy Gregory had the same amount of sacks as Bosa.
They end up. I don't know if it was last year or if it was the year before, not the year before, but
Bosa still had. Hold on. He still had double
What he had?
digit sacks.
Yeah, and I believe Randy Gregory had 10. I believe him and both had 10.
So last year Bosa had 10 and a half. Damn, that is a little bit lower. But hold on, Randy Gregory, Randy, and not to cut you off. Yeah, he had 2.5 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
He had
But it was
two and a half.
not, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Not last year. I'm not talking about Gregory last year.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like in overall production, and which is one of the reasons why we coveted him. But for BA, even when you look at the Super Bowl, everybody, it's so amazing that we don't see these type of things. So we look at BA and he's finally speaking out. BA has been a constant professional. He should have been a captain. The way he acts in practice, the way he takes on younger players and schools them. He made Debo. He made Demo. Off season, he pushed him.
I hear you. Like one thing about Diamondor Lenore, right? You said Demo, right?
Yeah.
His mindset. I feel like he was gonna figure out a way to get better. Regard, like
I
I'm not saying that Ayuk doesn't make him better, right? Like I watch Ayuk. Matter of fact, it's funny. I'm talking to my brother. I watch Diamondor Lenore and Debo Samuel do one-on-ones, and
he's killing.
he was like kicking his ass, like kicking Debo's ass. And I looked at my brother. I'm like Debo ain't helping Diamondor Lenore get better. Like you know what I'm saying?
But
Like
BA does.
Demo got to go with somebody else because Demo he needs a different look, and
And that's
it
what I
is
meant. It's like iron sharpening iron. More in that sense. Because Demo, he had dog in him all through. But so let me wrap this up because I know you got things to do. I'm just excited that I got my boy back and all that.
Yeah.
But like we gotta look at it from. And I've always been a player guy. I played in high school. I played Pop Warner, so I know what it is. I know what it is to be on AAU basketball teams, and something hotter comes along. You slide down, even when you've been. Organizations and we see it all the time. Get rid of players. Like players have to look out for themselves. They have to, and this is BA's first contract. And this is first contract, and this is what y'all doing to me. I've kept my head down. I've took this whole doghouse thing. I've taken, and when he says he's taking a back seat, it's because I'm fourth. I understand this. BA, you. The only time we see this like maybe one or two times with Jimmy. He doesn't say nothing when Brock miss him. He continues to churn. When you look at like. And don't get me wrong, I love Debo, but I don't. I didn't see D. I didn't see the value in Debo when it came to equating the money. The same way I wouldn't pay Brock because we don't throw the ball enough.
All right, hold on, Mr. Blue Mag. We're gonna continue this tomorrow. I got to get to the next caller because I got a hard out at 9. But tomorrow we're gonna be right back, and I'm gonna make sure I bring you on so you can land this plane. All right.
Hey, yo, I'm gonna send you a message on X. I got you.
All right. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Blue Magic. I'd see Sway in the chat. He says, "Croc, you excited for college football?" Hell yeah! And y'all know, I got kids that I done coached, trained. They're my guy Jonah Coleman. I'm so proud of my dog Jonah. And Jonah, he did very well at Arizona, and to see all the things he's doing, and he transferred to Washington with his coaching staff. And just that whole situation for him, it's really dope to see a kid grow up and where he's at now and the opportunities he's having. And that's, I don't call him all the time. My bro Donald, he talks to him a lot more than I do. But every time I do, I talk to him about taking advantage of the opportunity. So yeah, I'm excited for college football. I'm excited to see how everything is shaped up with the different conferences and how it is and everything now. But I'm even more so excited to watch all my guys. All right, here we go. Next caller, last caller. We got Chris Roscoe's. What up, Chris? Chris, you there? Uh-oh. I don't hear Chris.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. There we go. There we go. Oh, you're muted now. Chris is muted. Chris dipped out. He dipped out. We'll see if we're able to get Chris back on here. But yeah, maybe we'll have to get Chris back on tomorrow because I got to get on Locked On 49ers. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right, Chris is back. All
Yeah,
right,
my headphones trash, man. Can you hear me?
yeah, I got you.
All right. It's Crocker. Crocker, you back? And you
I know
already
you.
starting off with casuals on the show. It's cool. I'm not even gonna go into that.
You talking about Mr. Blue Magic?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest shout out to him though. I like the guy, but he casual. It's okay. It's okay. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm it feels good to be back in here and just talk freely about the 49ers and kind of where they're at and everything. So heck yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm on my way to the gym. I'm about to get my workout in. But I just wanted to say shout out to Puni, whatever his name is.
I don't know how to
He
say his name either.
I thought he played really well. So Jesse did an all 22, so I went to go look for myself. And yeah, I mean, he left some desire to be in the run game, but I think he'll get better at that. D Winters, I like him. I was excited to see him play. He left a lot to be desired in pass coverage. And remember, I texted you and I told you, hey,
He
did
did.
you think like he did? And PFF actually reflected that he wasn't pretty good in pass. And, I don't really take much into PFF, only certain things. And so they were correct on Puni's run game, and they were correct on D Winters. And I think Mustafa had a bad grade too, because I mean he had some mishaps in pass coverage. But overall, they made some splash plays too. They're young. I don't really, my whole philosophy, let rookies grow. So Puni, Mustafa, and I know Winters is not a rookie, but at the end of the day, he's still a young guy. So I believe in letting our young guys grow and they'll get better. So I'm excited. I'm excited for
That
this
used to
next
be a
preseason
tagline you
game.
had, right? Was it let
Say that again.
you had a tagline like let young guys develop, or it was something you would say.
Let rookies grow.
Yeah, there we go. Let rookies grow.
Yeah. So I'm, like I said, I'm excited about that. I'm just glad you back. Hopefully you'll be consistent.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Hopefully you'll be consistent, and then I'll be tapping in every morning, man.
All right, appreciate you coming on, Chris.
All right, bro. Have a good one.
All right. We do got one other caller, Giannis. I'm not able to get to you today because I got to get on the Locked On 49ers, man. But I definitely appreciate everybody that tuned in to the show, man. Shout out to all y'all. I think everybody has been very active in the chat. We're going to get right back on here tomorrow morning. All right. So make sure y'all subscribe to this video and hit that like button. Until then, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.